Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and my very first Wild Hearts discussion video. Because there is a big topic going around right now, complaints that Wild Hearts is actually too hard, which when brought to my attention was a surprise because my own experience has been pretty smooth, but as soon as I saw a lot of it was to do with the first experience with Lavaback, I could understand. Lavaback is the first Kemono that kind of provides that nasty challenge where the spike of difficulty occurs due to the power and pace of that Kemono and how it just destroys Karakuri by its very existence. It kind of represents the mid-tier and beyond version of Kemono and Wild Hearts after you get over that initial beginners section. Further though, people are claiming this is harder than Monster Hunter because of it, which surprises me, that's for sure. The thing is, there are some valid merits to these claims that we can talk about in a calm and reasonable way. After all, my experience isn't the same as the next person's, and it is interesting to look at things from a different perspective. My aim today then is to talk about and answer, hopefully, is Wild Hearts too hard and why are people even saying that? We begin with this incredible graph that Josh whipped up while we were talking about this. It's what I assume was made in Paint in about 5 seconds, but it does actually showcase the comparison we're going to come to quite well. The fact is, Wild Hearts has a higher barrier of entry compared to Monster Hunter. Things start harder because there's simply more to learn and kind of less time to do it mid-fight. Kemono compared to monsters seem to give the player a lot less breathing room. If we fall back to the Lavaback example, this guy just flies around the fight, he blasts you from far, he smashes you from downtown all of a sudden, and he's not even enraged yet. His AoE charge-up attack, which occurs during his enrage and various attacks, that just crumbles Karakuri right as you're building it. His swings and slams have really wide-reaching hit zones. So it's pretty brutal for a new player not accustomed to this playstyle to even manage. The issue I see crop up with this fight compared to the ones that came before is the punish windows. Lavaback just gives you basically no time to prepare an attack or land a combo blindly because he combos into another attack pretty consistently or jumps away off the back of one. Worse yet is that you haven't even learned all of the fusion Karakuri that could help you in that fight. The harpoon or cannon are great because they lock onto target's current location and then blast them, dealing damage, interrupting them, even staggering and knocking them down sometimes. Best of all, the trap, which holds Kemono in place when they step on it, that's a wonderful period of time you can just go to town on a Kemono. These provide you with a punish window you didn't have access to otherwise. So when you're first fighting Lavaback, you don't have any of that Karakuri. What you do have is things like the triple spring hammer and the barricade wall. These two can provide punish windows in the same way, blocking the punches and the charges, staggering and even knocking down with the hammer. The thing is, you're not going to know when and how to use these fusion Karakuri without testing them. And that can be punishing because it all costs threads to do and you have a limited supply of that. It's also quite risky to go gather some in the area mid-fight. So I completely understand how that first encounter with Lavaback is daunting. It's a lot to test and learn at once as they twist the difficulty to let you know this is how the game's going to go from now. We now fall back to Josh's incredible graph. You can see how Josh sees this as well. A higher difficulty starting point that progresses over time, but it does not progress nearly as much as Monster Hunter's does. A new player in Wild Hearts has a lot to work out. How long does the Kemono take to recover after an attack? Is this a safe combo to engage with? How large of a radius is that attack? You're learning your weapon, how you actually deal your damage, and how do you manage the combos? What are you going to get stuck in? What's the range? How do I reach those weak points? What about your Karakuri? Which ones are actually going to help you in this fight and when to use them? Which expensive fusion Karakuri are relevant? Can I even remember the right combination for what I need in that half second I have to do it? And it's all happening in real time. It can be genuinely tough to remember a 6-part combination of Karakuri when you've only got that moment to do it. That's why I think people are struggling initially, and the initial starting point for difficulty is seemingly higher in Wild Hearts. But as you see again with the incredible graph by Josh, we think that this difficulty spikes high to start, but becomes quite tame as it does not progress overly high from there. As we go, the player unlocks more options, more fusion Karakuri to use against Kemono as intended. They are their true weakness and often their hard counter. As we go, we get stronger weapons, armor, skills and protection, more heals carried, more benefits from our companion the Tsukumo, better food and resources to deal more damage to give us more health. We upgrade ourselves massively through that talent tree. And while the Kemono technically do get harder as they implement more mechanics, a pattern does form. Attacks are displayed with similar behavior from Kemono to Kemono, so you know when you need to say barricade. Our confidence in Karakuri fusions grow so that when we need to place them, we can pull them out in a moment's notice. And we understand our weapon better, how to punish different windows of opportunity. We end up staggering Kemono more, knocking them down, that means more damage, and that ends the fight sooner. I think as a player you get significantly better at the game and stronger mechanically, while the Kemono don't really see the same level of progression in difficulty. It's originally just a lot to take in at once when you first start playing. After all, Wild Hearts, compared to Monster Hunter, has more heals on demand. Everywhere you can just pick up more, even mid-fight. In multiplayer, you have revives, which completely prevents a cart if someone does get taken down, where you're able to revive them multiple times before the timer gets a bit too short. There's no limits on things like ammo or needing to craft ammo and crafting management in general, or the outrageous slide dodge with your iframes and movement distance on that, or say the spring with the same. I think these can be very forgiving on their iframe timings. And also, the games follow the same difficulty path. Like, look at Monster Hunter. It's low rank to high rank, then you've got the highest star level monsters, then you've got like the harder version of the monsters, which is tempered in, say, World's case, or the hardest version of a monster, like arch-tempered, which would be something like Afflicted to Risen and Rise. The thing is, Wild Hearts literally does the same thing. You got a normal Kemono, then a mighty one, then the higher star level ones, and then you've got the endgame systems, which is volatile, and then deeply volatile, unique fights. When it comes to volatile, you're dealing with that normal to mighty progression, but higher level. There's some new visuals, more damage and health, but it's not that much of a bumping challenge, I don't think. It's not so deeply volatile that things do get really tough, because you have to challenge a unique Kemono, a new version of one you know, that does now again have a more advanced moveset, and more damage, and more health, and way more of those at that. The worst part is the fact that you've got 20 minutes to beat it, and you can't be knocked out once in solo, or it's over. I think it's a massive step up in terms of difficulty, and a really fun challenge to work the endgame on, since it does seem we can only face each one once. So compared to Tempered and Arch-Tempered, it is similar, but I don't think Deeply Volatile is as hard as, say, some of the Arch-Tempered examples I could give. It's just that the restrictions are pretty brutal on the actual hunt because of the timer and the single cart thing. But anyway, back to my conclusion. Wild Hearts is a faster game, meaning you're under higher threat in terms of pace. In turn, you're able to attack really fast, move massive distances, create those huge contraptions in a moment's notice. But in turn, that means there's a lot more to learn and apply, and quickly, which seems to create an overwhelming feeling for new players, usually at the Lavaback point or beyond. While Monster Hunter, I feel, is a slower pace overall, you're being attacked at a slower pace, equal to the slower pace at which you attack and can input new commands. In Monster Hunter, you're more often held in place by your combos, making more of a commitment to your attacks. Therefore, there's a bit more room to learn. They also pace things out a bit fairer, like you're not mid-fight when you get a new Siltbind to try. You can go to the training room and try it for the first time before you ever do it in a fight. Karakuri must be learned in a brief moment right before the Kemono is going to do something horrible to you. And then from then on, you're just expected to know it and do it immediately when, you know, suddenly the Kemono is doing something else. I think in Monster Hunter, there's just a bit more time to learn mid-combat in your first fight, your first time against a new monster. Personally, I don't think Wild Hearts is too hard. It's just a bit of a steeper initial learning curve. I find that it feels great with its own ways to make things easier for yourself. You just have to learn that. It's up to you to decide if this version of big monster fighting is harder or easier based on how well you adapt then to a new experience and challenge. For some, it is clearly tough. For others who maybe lean more into this being a different game faster, maybe less so. Ultimately, Monster Hunter generally provides a bigger and better long-term challenge, because it does have 20 years of experience on how to provide that. I just think Wild Hearts is a really good start for this dev team, and one that I really hope they get to add to with like a roadmap and future experiences. Maybe a large-scale DLC or expansion, if not a sequel. If you have an open mind going into this and you just like the idea of a Monster Hunter genre of game, Wild Hearts is definitely flawed fun, and the fun outweighs the flaws by far. How hard will Wild Hearts be after it adds some new content with potentially new challenges? We'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you think about all of this. How hard have you guys found the difficulty of the game? For now, I've been Hollow though, you've been you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.